Okay, Maureen, we're good to go.
Fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. This is Friday night and it is not 5 p.m. in New York City right now, but we are the Asea 5 coming live to you. I'm Dr. Maureen Hayes from Galveston, Texas, and I'm joined by my cohorts, Jim Glenn and his beautiful wife, Ann from San Antonio, Texas.
Hello.
And also Dr. Lee Osler from Washington State. And we have some special guests on tonight, Dick and Nancy Walker, who are coming to us from Spokane, Washington. So we come together every Friday night to kind of tell you a little bit about our story and a little bit about redox signaling molecules, these breakthrough molecules that are a bioreplenishment agent that we have in every cell of our body. We just have less of them as we get older. So these products actually boost up the volume of the molecules that we have, and it helps our body to do what it was made to do even better, which is to heal itself. So even though we're medical professionals on this line, except for Jim is our financial advisor, the rest of us have our fingers in the pot. Oh, and actually, Nancy, you are a skincare expert. So yeah, medical professional of sports. We are not here to diagnose or treat anything. We're just here to educate you on this bioreplenishment agent. So that's our little disclaimer. And I am going to introduce Dick and Nancy Walker. Dick is an ER doctor. He's now retired. They're both athletes of sorts, mountain climbers. And Dick has actually climbed Mount Everest twice. He's got an incredible story. And we're going to have them come on and share how they got introduced to Asea, give us a little bit about their background, kind of fill in the gaps because I don't have their bio in front of me, and kind of catch us up. And they've had a lot of business success too. So Dick and Nancy, please take the floor. Welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, you guys. We were introduced to this amazing technology and company by a friend of ours who is a research physical therapist, and you might know him, some of you, Jerry White. And at the time I was suffering from a health condition that actually started in my teens. And I was tired all the time. I fell asleep all the time. Didn't matter how much I slept at night. My brain was foggy and I just, my muscles, I was an athlete, but I can tell you I took a lot of anti-inflammatories because when I would exercise or do a hike, or actually we used to do some mountain climbing, my muscles would not recover like most people's do. They were so sore. One time I climbed Mount Rainier and I couldn't really walk for 2 weeks.
I couldn't touch her for a week or two or she'd scream.
And it looked like I, had some sort of disease and I almost needed a cane. So that's that, I paid the price. I still was active, but I paid the price and I didn't think that my life would ever be any different. And we were, so I was interested in this for health reasons. Dick was interested. He's always been an entrepreneur. I really haven't, although I've started a couple of other businesses, actually, if I think about it. But our biggest problem was we had no time. We had, I was a dental hygienist for 22 years. I retired. We imported some alpacas from South America. We started a livestock investment business. I took care of the alpacas in the beginning until we had about 40. And then Dick had to help me. We bred them, birthed them, trained them, showed them across the country every year. We ended up with 150 of them. So this is what we were doing when we were introduced to Asea. And, when you have animals, it's every day. 7 days a week, you have to feed them, you have to take care of them. And we had no time. Dick was working. We had the alpacas. I was taking care of his mother as well, his elderly mother. And I had a clothing store, an alpaca clothing store, and a yarn business. So we had no time. And when Jerry brought this to us, and I could not for the life of me imagine how taking on another business could give us more time. We had no time. I mean, none.
Nancy, were you doing dental hygiene at the same time with the alpaca store, or do you?
No, I had retired by that time. I had my own dental hygiene business, And I also taught clinical skills at Eastern Washington University.
Wow.
And then I worked in private practice. So I had those three. But then we moved to the country and we had an ice storm, which knocked out our power and our water and our phone. Those days we had a regular landline for 9 days. I'd never even been on a farm, much less, lived on one.
Green acres.
That's right.
Trial by
And
a snowstorm.
so Dick was like, well, you have to take care of the alpacas. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, much less haul water, And so I ended up having to retire at that time.
Wow.
Because my practice was clear across town. And there's no way I could take care of his mother, take care of the alpacas. I had nowhere to shower and then go to, I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure it out. So I called my boss. I said, well, this is it for me. I'm on the farm now. And that's how it all started. And, but I'll let Dick tell, I was like, another business, come on, when, we don't have 2 minutes, but he saw something different. So I'll let him.
I actually saw it as a solution to our time crunch because when I looked at the business model, I realized that I wouldn't have to do all the work and it was going to allow me to create a residual income source and also create some leverage because, when you're an ER doc, you get paid for what you do when you're there, but you don't get paid, if you're lucky and the insurance companies acknowledge that you did something. But you certainly don't get paid over and over. And you don't build up any residuals at all. And you can't really leverage because the hospital has all the employees. So even in a conventional business, you can leverage yourself a little bit by having employees and paying them what you can afford to get by with and then making some money on their efforts. But you can't do that in a hospital-based medical practice. So if I wasn't there earning money that day, that hour, I didn't earn anything. And so, and I was busy and it's shift work. And I really didn't like working different shifts. So the only shift that nobody else wanted was night shifts. So for a long time, I worked nights because at least I could then regulate my biorhythms around 1 o'clock. So I'd get up in the afternoon and contrary to, Nancy thinks she did all the work for the alpacas. I actually did a fair amount of work too, both before I went to work and after I got home. But we were very busy but I didn't want to I knew we couldn't keep doing that forever. I was like 64, I think, at the time that we were first introduced to Asea. And I kind of knew that something had to change and something needed to change because we just didn't have time to do what we wanted to do, much less spend some extra time with our kids who were at that point were teenagers. And when you got teenagers, you need to spend a little more time with them.
Yeah.
Even if they don't want you to. But so this was just an opportunity. And, I was attracted to the technology because I knew a little bit about direct sales network marketing. And what I had learned was you had to have a unique product, something that would capture people's attention. And then you had to go ask people to join you in business. So you had to do both of those things. And I was willing to do that. And I could do that in the nooks and crannies of a busy medical practice. All I had to do is pick up the phone, go in the back room, pick up the phone and call somebody and say, hey, I got something you might want to take a look at. And then I had a team I could make the initial introduction and then my team, Jerry White and others, could do the educating, answer the questions. We started doing some in-home meetings. Back then, we got to the point where we were doing an in-home meeting once a week. And the benefit of that was even if nobody came, we had brownies to eat and we got the house picked up. So a weekly in-home has benefits, even if you get a bunch of no-shows. But eventually, we packed the room and our business started to grow. And so, and at that point, I realized that this was actually going to work. For the first 6 months, it was built on vision and trust and knowing that if I put I've always been pretty successful at whatever I put my mind to. And I knew that if I did that and I followed a pattern and I'd learned to follow patterns and to follow what other people did in my mountaineering career, because what I wanted to climb some really big mountains. And what I realized was the only way you were going to have any sort of chance at summiting those was, and if you weren't a full-time mountaineering bum, was to follow in the path of people who had already established a route, instead of trying to go out there and establish a brand new route up a mountain where nobody had ever been before. So I knew that the best way to accomplish the summit, so to speak, in Asea was to follow an established process and just get to work and do what needed to be done. And the number one step, because the only way you ever climb a mountain is to take that first step and head uphill. Number one step was to call people and ask them to take a look at what we had and what we were doing. And I knew if I did that with enough people and then turned around and helped my team to follow behind me on that same path, we would have that kind of success. And then Nancy, as that success started to build, and I started to win bonus trips through Asea, and she had to close her store in order to go on the bonus trips.
Is that what it was? I
Eventually,
remember when you were selling off the alpacas. So how long did you guys have the alpacas? That's a lot of
20 years. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We've
20
each
years.
had like 3 20-year careers overlapping.
And you know, the nice thing about our business in Asea is it's recession proof, because for two reasons. Number one, we have a healthcare product and people get sick whether you've got a recession or a good economy. And number two, our business model actually thrives when the economy is down, because people are looking for other ways to make money. Well, the alpaca business is not like that, because the alpaca business, when the recession hit, a business that had been making money all of a sudden didn't, and it never came back. And so we were doing pretty good, and that's why we ended up with 150 of them. And at about that point, the market dropped out from underneath us, and it never really did come back. And so, and Asea came along at a good time there, because when the alpaca market went away, Asea started ramping up and has continued to do that. And so it's been a great 8 years. We just had our 8th year anniversary, and Asea sent us 2 beautiful bouquets. I couldn't believe it.
Is that it? Is that one of them behind you?
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
What a surprise. I mean, I didn't anticipate I was going to get an anniversary gift from Asea, but it's beautiful.
Wow.
Okay, real quick. Right now, realizing we've got a lot of new people that are watching this, Dick, and a lot of people may not really know what we're even talking about yet. Could you please explain real quick, either, and there are medical people that are coming on, but then there's non-medical people coming on. Could you explain it, if you don't mind, to both? One as you would to a medical person, and then one to me. Very basic, please.
Yeah, I'll take on the medical professional one first. Asea, redox signaling molecules, are really the secret ingredient to getting people's physiology to work better. And it's something that, unless you went to medical school very recently, you never heard about, because the science behind this is all relatively new, and yet it's basic cell biology, and it's all about how our cells regulate the functions and regulate, control, and direct the repair processes at the cellular level. And it's a very, in one area, it's very simple. It's cell communication. It's our cells being able to communicate both between each other and within each other. And if you have any understanding from when you took all that biochemistry and biology, you know that it's quite complex, quite difficult to understand. And if you're honest with yourself, you'll admit that you never really did understand it, but you did study it so you could pass the test. Well, guess what? This was the missing piece that they didn't teach us about. And it's a very important missing piece, because it's what makes our bodies work at the foundational level of cellular function and integrity. And that definition probably would work pretty well for you as well, Jim, because I don't get into the science of molecules and mitochondria and electron transport chains. All of that is there for the science nerds that want it. But by and large, when a doctor says this would help you and he writes out a prescription, most of the time you don't really ask them how it works, what it does, yada, yada, yada. You just want to know that it works. And these redox signaling molecules work. So if you want to know how well they work, you go read people's testimonies. And that's going to tell you a lot more about how well they work than if I gave you an hour-long scientific treatise on the biology of redox signaling. It just so happens that they restore the integrity, the functionality of aging cells, cells that have been damaged for any particular reason, or sometimes for no reason at all. And they do a very good job, oftentimes, of giving people their health back, oftentimes when they've given up on it, because nothing else that we as professionals have recommended to them has worked. And yet, just restoring redox balance and getting their redox signaling functioning again, their body is able to repair itself. And for those professionals out there that think you do a lot of the repairing, I got news for you. The body does all the repairing. All we do as medical professionals is to kind of tinker around the edges and help out with prescription drugs and with surgery and that sort of thing. But if your body wasn't up to doing what it has to do, we would not be able to do much for you. If your immune system wasn't working, if your inflammatory system was out of control, if your hormones and enzymes weren't working. And it's at that level where Asea excels at giving you your health back. So hopefully that gives you some idea. This is a product that everybody needs, everybody can use. And you may not, if you're really healthy to begin with, you may not recognize the benefits that it's giving you, but it is helping.
Okay, can you please explain why it says it's a dietary supplement? And also, a real stumper is it's made from salt water. If anybody looks at the ingredients, there's only two. It's salt, sodium chloride, and water. Could you explain that real quick?
Well, our bodies are about 65 to 75% salt water. If we were to stick ourselves in the dehydrator, we'd end up with not very much left, just a bunch of dust, because most of what we are is salt water. And it's a no-brainer that the body has figured out a way over the eons of evolution to utilize a derivative of salt water, a number of different derivatives, as these redox signaling molecules, because it's the most plentiful ingredient in our body. It's what makes our body work, really. So these are molecules that are made up of the same molecules that are in sodium chloride and water, which is hydrogen and oxygen. The process breaks those apart and then facilitates their recombination into a number of different molecules, no more than 2, 3, 4 atoms collected. And those are the language of cellular communication. The redox signaling alphabet, so to speak, is how our cells put together, chemical messenger sentences so that our cells can function.
Nancy, can you explain how you explain it to someone?
Well, basically the same way. These are native molecules. In other words, our own cells make them. They're a byproduct of energy production within our cells. And I don't go into science either, although I started out in college as a chemistry major and I like that kind of thing. But they're native to the body. They're 100% safe. All the safety studies have been done. That's the main thing. You can give it to a newborn baby. We kept our grandson out of the hospital when he was 6 months old. He had a respiratory issue. They wanted to put him in Seattle Children's Hospital, but I sat up all night with him with these molecules and in a nebulizer and kept him out of the hospital. But I tell people that, we have them already in our bodies. No one can be allergic to it. They don't interact with any food or any prescriptions that you might be taking. But the conundrum is, as we age, we don't have enough. And that's why we age. Most people have accelerated aging. If you want, and there's really no such thing as anti-aging, because every day you get a day older. However, when you get these molecules, when you get them in your body and you supplement with them to the levels that you had when you were at your peak, like in your 30s. This
More
is
like
what I
more like
this is
15.
this
I
is
think.
what I think about. Your body behaves like it did then. It heals like it did then. So yes, you age appropriately, but it seems like you're anti-aging. I mean, I look way younger than I did 8 years ago. I feel way younger. I look way younger. And that's because I have an appropriate amount of redox signaling molecules in my body and in my cells.
Yep, I got news for all you 35-year-olds out there. You're already older than you think you are physiologically. We've shown that in numerous tests. The aging process starts at a much younger age. But let me give you a concept that I think is a much better explanation of why we need this than the science behind it. You know, your health and your wellness is on a continuum. And you can look at it as a stairway where you can head down to places you don't want to go, and you can head up to much better health, or just right to left. And you want to move into wellness, and you want to embrace wellness. And a lot of it is common sense. You need to exercise a little bit. You need to sleep out of every 24 hours. You need to find what is an effective number of hours of sleep for you that rejuvenate you so that you've got energy for the day. You've got to eat a reasonably good diet. Balanced diet doesn't exist really anymore. It's really hard to do that. So you really have to supplement. But you want to get all the nutrients and the micronutrients that your body needs to function and to repair. And then we now know that if you really want to have peak wellness, you need to supplement with redox signaling molecules, because that's what many people are more deficient in than anything else. They just don't know it because most people have never heard about it. I bet you that less than 1% of the people on the planet have ever heard the term redox signaling molecules. It's that new. They've all heard of vitamin C, and most people have those sorts of things that they recognize nutrients, but this is a nutrient that, like Nancy says, is native to your body. Your body knows exactly what to do with them. They're totally perfectly safe. They can't harm anybody in any way at any dose. And they're vital to the normal function of your body, and they're crucial to wellness, and they become more and more crucial as you get older, or if you have some sort of chronic condition. Because when you've got a chronic condition, your body is using up all of these molecules and just wondering why it doesn't have enough to do a better job. And so when you augment those and bio-replenish, you're just giving the body a tool that it knows exactly what to do with. It knows exactly where to put them to work. All you've got to do is have the common sense to drink them several times a day to augment your underlying native supply.
Lee, can I ask you a question, Lee, real quick? We don't use medical terms, right? We don't say anything about medical issues. Lee, why is that? And why is it that's so? Why is it a dietary supplement? Why isn't it an FDA product that you can write a prescription for?
Well, that was in the early foundation days of a previous company that was researching this. That was one of their aims, was to make this a pharmaceutical preparation for some specific diseases out there. And it wound up, one of the requirements to be a drug or to gain a drug classification is you need what's called an Ld50 certificate or classification. And LD stands for lethal dose. 50 is the median. And so what they want to do is increase the dose of whatever it is. It doesn't matter what the drug is. You increase the dose until half of your laboratory specimens or animals, rats or mice, are perish. And then you know what the Ld50 is. And that's one of the requirements, at least in the United States, for being able to be getting a drug classification. And in that whole research process, that was not obtainable because this is non-toxic. This does not activate the inflammatory pathways, and so there is no toxic response to it. And that posed a problem for the early developers, because if that wasn't going to be how this works, then the question would be, do we really have a product? Because they knew it was effective, they knew it was safe, and the question became, well, how do we market this? Under what label can we do this? And so they essentially flipped it to the supplement side of the United States FDA And in that space, there's different rules that apply where we cannot speak about specific diseases. We can't speak to medical claims that address any of those diseases by name. We can talk about it generically. And so this lends itself beautifully. And here's the subtle thing about this, because of what Nancy and Dick were talking about, how this affects every cell. This isn't just skin cells. It's not just eye cells or bone cells or GI cells. This is all cells. And when any cell begins functioning properly, whatever the problems were that arose because it wasn't functioning properly, have a really good chance of self-correcting. We're healing naturally from the inside out. And so you can imagine that if we started thinking about the whole body, all the cells, all the conditions, all the diseases, all the problems that you could correct, if you could like wave your magic wand at the very bottom of the health pyramid and correct all of those, there's no way that would work in a drug model, because we would only be limited to being able to talk legally about the one or two things that are quote unquote on label that we can make claims about. And so that frees us up over here in this space to be able to just say, this is, we speak generically about the process of cellular health. And I like to use the expression that rather than being acted upon, which is what a pharmaceutical does, it's acting on receptor sites and so forth to change the function of a cell. What this is doing is allowing the cell to act on its own, and therefore within its own native capacity, it can self-correct all the problems. And so that really opens us up for us, and that's why we don't talk about diseases, we don't talk about claims, that it fixes this or that. We just simply respond with the counter question of, is there a cell involved? And if there is, and we can make it healthy, then we can remove risk factors in that regard.
So I'd like to piggyback on that a little bit because I get a lot of questions, or a lot of people calling me and saying, I've been on the Asea for this amount of time, nothing seems to be happening, or I've taken this dose for a while, should I take more? And so let me explain, I think you've heard enough now to know that this is a cellular health product. Well, our body is made of trillions and trillions and trillions of cells of all different types. And when you have something wrong with you that's bad enough to be labeled as a particular disease, that means that you have trillions upon trillions upon trillions of cells that are sick. And when you start to address those by taking a supplement like Asea that we know will eventually help your body to fix and repair a lot of things and will help to normalize the functions within any kind of cell, it takes time. And when somebody, I can't tell you how long it's going to take you before you're going to notice an effect from Asea, because I don't know how many of your cells are damaged. I don't know how long they've been damaged for. I don't know what other issues your body is trying to deal with at the same time. All I can tell you is that I know that from the first sip of Asea, your body's going to use those molecules to help it function better, to help it repair wherever the damage is. And you don't have to even know where the damage is. I have a lot of people that start Asea because they've come to the end of the road of medical diagnostic possibilities and they're still sick. And we don't know what is wrong with them or where the symptoms are coming from. Guess what? With Asea, you don't have to know. The body knows. The body knows what's not working. The body knows what needs to be repaired. And it just doesn't have the tools to do it. And most of the time, that tool that's missing is better cellular communication. And so if we can restore that, and we can restore it for long enough and find the right dose that person needs at that particular time in their life, eventually things will start to turn around. But to quit after 2 or 3 months because you haven't had the result that you want, I think is kind of foolish. But I recommend at least a minimum of a 90 to 120 day trial period. And if you notice any improvement in your health, that should tell you that your body is using these molecules. I know it is, whether you realize it or not, but it takes some time. I had a significant issue in my health. I'm not going to talk about what it is because I don't want to make a disease claim, but it was 4 years before that problem just sort of disappeared. And I was able to stop 4 different medications as a result of what Asea was able to accomplish, or what Asea was able to enable my body to accomplish during that 4 years. And, you know, I never expected that really to happen to that degree. And yet, if I'd have stopped after 1, 2, 3 years, I'd still be taking all those medications. And just don't give up on this product. It literally can help anybody over a period of time if you take it regularly.
You know, Dick, you actually bring up, I think you froze there. You bring up a really good point in that, you know, I tell people long before you see a disease or a challenge, your body is going through changes. So you may be pre-sick before you actually get the symptoms, and you don't get sick overnight, and you're not going to get better overnight. So while you're in that period, you know, if you're taking a C and you're not feeling anything, well, it may be working on something that just hasn't come to light yet. You know, we don't know what all is going on in our bodies, and thankfully, maybe we'll never know some of the things that Asea is working on. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't still take it. I think the biggest gift that we get from Asea is prevention of things that could be coming on down the line.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And I teach, I know they were trying to get.
Oh, there they are. They're back.
There's your connection.
The snowstorm got you.
Snowstorm
Yeah.
got us.
froze ya. Froze ya.
Our antenna is probably covered with snow. We're on
We-
satellite out here, so
We also lost. Did you see our lights go out?
No.
No, I just
You
saw
lost power.
you froze.
yeah,
That-
for a second or two.
Everything got all dark.
Oh, weird.
Wow, we missed that.
And to piggyback with you, Maureen, on being proactive, you know, the 15 years that I've taught nutrition and fitness, it takes a lot more element to teach that than it does to teach two modalities. Drink it or you rub it. And I'd love to talk more about, you were commenting, Nancy, about the, can y'all hear us good?
I don't know what's going on with our system.
Yeah.
Our noise is really
Is
loud.
that any better?
No.
That-
Yeah.
Okay, can you get
You
better?
talk loud.
I can't really hear you. You're kind of garbled, Ann.
Okay, because I'm,
I can hear you.
okay.
You can hear? Maybe it's me.
Oh,
Probably you, Maureen.
so we were talking about skin, Nancy,
It's coming up
earlier.
again.
Okay. And I know, Nancy, I love your show whenever you talk about skincare. And I was thinking about Alan Noble last night, shared about, you know, we're going to age 10 years from now. Wouldn't we want to look like we were only aging 3 years? And so the Renew 28 is like the miracle, we all call it the miracle gel, that it, you know, it's renewing our skin in 28 days versus the slow snail crawl of 50 and 60 days.
It's good.
And so I'd love to talk about our newest claims with the Renew 28, what it does on cellulite and varicose and even discomfort, all of those. Love to
Yeah.
talk about that.
And
And
Nancy,
the gene study.
Yeah.
can you talk about when you first got started with the Renew? What happened with your skin?
Right.
I know
Well,
it's been a long time ago, but
yeah. Well, people say I'm somewhat of an expert on skin. It's only because I've had every skin problem you can imagine. And when I first started with the Renew, well, that's what we had in 2014, the Renew 28. It made my skin, I had very sensitive skin, and it made it really dry. It was super dry. And I thought, well, this can't be good, you know, because I usually have oily skin. But what I discovered is it's dry. It can be dry in the beginning, but after about a month, you actually have 11% more moisture. So I kept using it because I had trust in Asea and in the company. I knew it was a clean product, and I have studied personal care products for a long time and the toxicity of personal care products. And I appreciated that Asea's products are clean. They're not toxic. They
And
don't
she
have
had
toxic
and she had a good
chemicals.
coach too.
And
I remember you almost quit using Renew 28 at that point in time. You don't remember that, but I can remember saying, no, just keep using it. is going to be better on the other side. And you saw your dermatologist, and what did he say?
Well, what happened was I got red spots on my skin. And I actually did talk with my dermatologist, and I said, I haven't had acne for a very long time. This doesn't seem like, they're red spots. And he said, well, when you have oily skin and you're using a product that turns over the cells faster, they don't slough off, they slide. And so one cell is sliding over the top of another and getting stuck. And then you have a little red kind of irritated spot. And then after a couple of days, it goes away. And that's what was happening. And so he calmed me down, and I kept using it. And anyway, the results are pretty fantastic. It's the only product I know of on the market that actually gets rid of your wrinkles. It doesn't just cover them up, doesn't just hide them, and it doesn't do it through making your skin irritated. A lot of products will irritate your skin to plump them up, to make it seem like you're getting rid of wrinkles. But I also want to address something you said, Anne. I'm not going to say how old I am, but
29.
I am on Medicare. So anyway, I think that my skin looks pretty good, and I have not done anything drastic to it, like the plastic surgery or anything like that, because I just believe that healthy is beautiful. And if you're healthy, you're going to be beautiful. But here's the thing, even if you do those drastic things, even if you have a facelift, or I don't even know what people do, but chemical peel, I've heard of things that I really don't want to participate in. But even if you do, you still age from then on. You're going to be aging. If you have a facelift today, next year you're going to look different because you're going to have aged. And so what we have is really the best of all worlds, because you want to be healthy, and healthy is beautiful. Your skin is a reflection of the health of your body, actually. So as much as your eyes are the window to your soul, your skin is the window to your health. When you see someone who is healthy, they're beautiful. And often we see people, and we can tell by their skin, you think, oh, they don't look that healthy. And it's because your skin is connected to other systems in your body. So you might have an unhealthy pallor overall because you have something inside that is not healthy. Or you could have rashes, and that's why. So you get healthy inside, you're going to be beautiful outside.
We don't see that many people smoking anymore, thank goodness. But I could look at somebody coming into the ER. I'd walk into the room and I knew they were smoking before I ever looked at their chart, just by looking at the skin on their face, because they had 10 times as many wrinkles as people who weren't smoking. And that was not just because of the smoke wafting around their faces they smoked. It was because of this systemic effects of putting that dirty smoke in your lungs. But I love Renew 28 for what it does for your muscle soreness, because when I work out or go on a long bike ride or something like that, it bothers me more than it did 20 or 30 years ago. But if I just use the Renew 28 before and after, before we ski, before I go on a long bike ride or something like that, I just don't get the soreness and tightness and discomfort that I would get without the Renew. When we opened up the market in Australia, that really boosted my confidence in Renew 28, because for the first year and a half or two, that's the only product that we could get approved by the Australian government. And people were having amazing results throughout their body just by putting a lot of Renew 28 on the outside, which proved and told me that these molecules were getting through the skin into the body. They're getting distributed around, and the body's using them wherever they need them. So Renew 28 isn't just for your skin. It isn't just to get rid of wrinkles. And that's a main thing, a big thing, but cellulite responds to that, and that's much deeper than skin level. That's a problem down deeper into the skin. Renew 28, as a standalone product, we could build a business and a company just around Renew 28 if we didn't even have the liquid. But having both is even more phenomenal. And don't shortchange the Renew 28. It's an amazing, amazing product. And oftentimes it's a good product to start people with because they may not be willing to ingest something different sounding, but they're willing to put it on the outside of their body, and always have them take a before and after picture or rate their joint or muscle discomfort before they start the Renew, and check, do a flexibility test on them with the Renew. You can demonstrate so many cool things with the Renew in a matter of minutes that usually open people's eyes to being willing to engage with this technology.
Hey, Lee, real quick, can you answer the 90%? We always say that after 90 days, 90% of the time people notice something's changing in their body. I always like to bring up the fact that with the 10% that say they didn't feel anything, it was working. They just can't feel it. You can't always feel your cells getting healthy. Can you address why this works every time? The second we drink it and or apply the gel, it's working whether you feel it or not, correct?
That is correct. You know, the whole point here is that redox signaling molecules natively are produced by the mitochondria as a function of Krebs cycle. That's where the energy powerhouse is inside the cell. And in that process, they're creating reactive oxygen species. These are highly reactive molecules that perish instantly, near instantly, inside of us natively, and we make trillions a second to replace them. What makes the Asea so phenomenal is that we were able to find not just the way to but through electrolysis in a laboratory, produce these same native molecules by fractionating sodium chloride and water so that they could recombine. I mean, we've done this since the 1800s in terms of electrolysis of water. That's how they made hydrogen and oxygen for all these decades. So you throw saline in there, and now, as Dick said earlier, there's 4 molecules that can be recombined to create probably a couple dozen redox molecules, everything from hypochlorous, hydrogen peroxide, superoxide, singlet oxygen, nitric oxide winds up in the mix somewhere. These are all made natively in the cell, and the cell uses these to activate antioxidant genes. And so, even though, and we've been in our culture, we have this idea that if I take something like an herb or a drug, that I'm going to expect a result. You know, pain medicine makes the pain go away. A heart medication makes the heart pump better, or whatever. There's reasons for those. And by the way, nobody should stop taking their medications just because they started any kind of a supplement. You know, that needs to be coordinated very carefully. But the point is that when we make the cells function, we replenish this because we have laboratory bioidentical native molecules replenishing the cell. They are now working. The gene expression is happening. I may not feel it. It's going to show up for me. It's taken, you know, the better part of 2 years, and I finally increased my dose, and I find that my back pain is gone. Well, I probably could have done that earlier, but if I would have made this judgment early on, well, like I'm taking 2 ounces twice a day and I don't feel anything, you know, it's like my GI didn't change, my poop didn't change, my attitude didn't change, you know, my happiness score didn't go up. You know, you're missing the boat, because at a cellular level, it's not about how I feel. Feeling or symptoms are a consequence of how my cells are functioning. So my answer to that is they're always working. Whether or not I feel it or not is a function of how much health deficit I'm starting the game with, you know, where I'm at in the process and what's going on in my body, along with a lot of other things. But one thing I'd like to ask, maybe Dick could follow up with this, is we talk about this being technically a nutritional supplement. You know, it's on the supplement side of at least the United States FDA rules, but it is a supplement in the sense that we're adding it to our body. We're supplementing something, but in the traditional sense of nutrition supplements, could you explain the difference there as to why this isn't nutritional and why we still need to focus on nutritional things that might also be healthy for the cell?
Sure. The more appropriate term for what we do when we when we supplement with redox signaling molecules is bioreplenishing, because unlike most of the things that we get when we take vitamin and mineral supplements, they're not native to the body. They're necessary for the body to perform certain functions at the cellular and biochemical level, but they're not native to the body. And Asea is native to the body. So when you take it, you're bioreplenishing a certain collection of molecules that the body makes, but under many circumstances, like we've been talking about, isn't making enough for optimum wellness and health. Nutritional supplements, and especially the certain 20 or so that are vital and your body can't manufacture from something else, you have to get in your nutrition. You have to get it in your food. Those are called essential micronutrients. And it is important that you get those into your body, because with the redox signaling molecules, many of the biochemical reactions that are ongoing, and it's mind-boggling. There are more chemical reactions going on in your body in 1 second than we even have a number to attach to it. I mean, quadrillion, million, I don't know, there isn't a number. There's so much going on. And oftentimes, in addition to redox signaling molecules being necessary for those, the essential micronutrients that we get in our food and in our supplements are vital for those reactions as well. And Asea has a wonderful array of micronutrient supplements. And the really important thing about those are that even if you're eating organic, even if you're raising it in your own garden, you have no idea whether you have the density of nutrients that you need in your food to get enough of the necessary micronutrients for your body to have optimal health and wellness. And so it's necessary to supplement. But on the flip side of that, the best way to get your micronutrients is in your food, because oftentimes when you get it in your food, it goes along with cofactors and enzymes and other things that makes it more bioavailable, allows your body to absorb it, allows your body to use it. So what Asea has done is come up with whole food micronutrient supplementation. So when you're taking a capsule of an Asea supplement like Source, you're taking whole food in a concentrated form that is packed with micronutrients that are in the form that your body recognizes as being necessary and helpful. And so it's going to use those. It's not going to go in one end and out the other. Your body's going to glom onto that because it recognizes it as a healthy, food-based, concentrated micronutrient. And so it's going to use those. And it's going to use those effectively and efficiently, unlike a nutritional supplement that might be made from ingredients manufactured in a chemical factory or in a synthetic way and put together in a nutrient of some sort. So the nutritional supplements from Asea are bar none the highest quality that you can obtain, and your body's going to love you using those.
And they synergetically work with the redox.
Go louder.
So, I mean, I love them because we went from 10 vitamins that were fillers and synthetic to just the 4 that we use. And the way they source it and the ingredients, it is quite amazing. I love that, you know, in the nutrition world, it's very complicated. There's so many things you can recommend that I've done for 15 years. And with redox, you can't be allergic to yourself. You have 2 modalities. You drink it, you rub it, you know, and you can use the Renew 28 as a lymphatic flush in all the areas of your body and see such amazing things. I know Ann Louise Gittleman says she bathes with it because you do repair while you sleep. And that's what I love about Renew so much. And I love that today I saw a lady, and within a matter of minutes, 10 minutes or less, what issue she was having in the neck, she saw the signaling take place that quickly. And that's what's so neat about the Renew, is you can just literally show somebody that it's going to work in your range of motion or balance, whatever it is they may be needing to see, but just literally just try it and you'll see the signaling happen. It's just amazing. So,
hey, Dick, can you share the story about your mom?
Which one?
I don't know, whichever one you like the best.
Can I say one thing about your mom first?
Yeah, Nancy took care of my mom, but she lived down at the farm place in the house down on the farm after we moved into our log home. And so Nancy was, much more involved with my mom's health because she was there a lot and I was at the hospital. So
yeah,
that's great.
She was quite a woman. She knew, she was from a generation, that she was unusual for her generation. She understood the fact that wellness doesn't just happen, that you must take action and you must work at it if you want to be healthy. It's not something that is just, that some people are gifted with. And so she early on, she used to, when Dick was a kid, listen to a nutritional radio show out of New York City.
Oh.
And so she had.
I even remember the guy's name. It was Carlton Fredericks. I should look him up. But she listened to that show every night, and it happened to be during dishwashing time. And so.
So it wasn't anything we had to talk her into. We were like, hey, look at what we found. She was like all on board. And she was 94 at the time.
Wow.
So she started taking her, I'll let you tell. It's your mom. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's probably my mom. It's probably my interest in natural health and nutrition and supplements and things like Asea is probably due to my mom's influence on me as I was growing up. But yeah, we started her on the Asea. And in addition to drinking it, unbeknownst to me, she had an eye problem. And being a smart woman, she thought, well, it's totally safe. My son told me I can't hurt anything with this. And so she started putting drops in her eyes. And between drinking 8 ounces a day and occasionally, I don't even know how often she did that.
Well, she had her hands didn't work very well. So she would drink, and you know how you have a drop left, and then she would just take the glass and go.
Yeah, she drank it out of a shot
like
glass.
an eye wash, yeah.
She drank it out of either a shot glass or an egg cup, whatever she had handy, which was about that size. And so, one day, and she was legally blind from the condition that she had. And then one day she was in the hospital for some complication. She recovered from it, but yeah, she fell, I think, and didn't break anything, but was in the hospital. And she was reading the chart across the other side of the room, reading off her doctor's name and the therapist and this, that, and the other. And I looked at her and I said, "Did you memorize that?" And she said, "Well, no, I'm just reading it. I can see it." And I said, "When did that happen?" And lo and behold, the only thing she did different than her usual routine of micronutrient stuff that she'd been taking for years was that we got her on the Asea. So she regained a lot of her vision. And the other thing that and I have no idea why. I mean, I'm not making a medical claim. I'm just making an observation. And the other thing is that she regained a lot of her mobility. Until she moved into town, she was out in the barn, walking around the farm. She was supervising what Nancy and I were doing to make sure we did it right, So she was a very active in her 90s, and a lot of that, maintaining that, I think, for the last couple of years had to do with Asea.
Now, Dick, I've asked you this before. There's a lot of people that we talk to that go, well, I'm extremely healthy. There's nothing wrong with me. How many people have you seen ambulanced into the ER that would have said the day before, hey, doc, I'm healthy. There ain't nothing wrong with me. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah, frequently. I would say, well, congratulations. That's good to know. But you really don't know how healthy you are at the cellular level because of that exact thing. The number one cause of death in this country still is cardiovascular disease. And the number one category leading category of what people die from is what we call sudden cardiac death. And that happens in people, many people who don't even know they have a heart problem. They develop a sudden arrhythmia, or they have a major blockage of one of the arteries in their heart or whatever, and they drop dead before they get to the hospital for help. And what that should tell you is that your body can maintain, can compromise, can do, fix-arounds up to a certain point, and then all of a sudden can't do it anymore. And on one side of that divide, you would say, hey, nothing wrong with me. And on the other side, you're laying in my emergency room having a heart attack. And when I'm telling you that, you're looking at me and saying, I can't, doc, I'm fine. I said, well, you might have been fine an hour ago. You're not fine right now. It happens that way. Our body can do some amazing things to get by and compensate, and yet all of a sudden it can't. The other cool thing with Asea, you guys have seen this, is that people will say, well, it's not working, it's not doing anything. And then all of a sudden, in a matter of a day or two, they call you up and say, hey, it kicked in, it's working. Well, it was working the whole time. It's just that your body had to get to a certain amount of repair work. And then all of a sudden,
Critical mass.
Yeah, critical mass of cells got repaired or function got regained or whatever. And all of a sudden, hey, it's working. Well, it's been working for 6 months. It was just catching up on all that repair work that you'd been ignoring at the cellular level.
And that's part of that glutathione pathway. Glutathione is what's doing the detox. And so we've got to take out some garbage in some cases before we can actually, begin. In fact, that's probably a good point, is because some people will say, well, this made me feel worse. Well, that's really kind of a backdoor way of a proof that validates that it is working. In the herbal community, we call it the Herxheimer's reaction, because suddenly I am detoxing. My cells are working better, and we just have to stick with it until I can get out into the clear.
And sometimes when people go off of it is when they notice that they
I'm just going to say that.
Oh yeah. Well, we see that.
Yeah. When I talk to somebody, if they say to me, gee, I think I don't like this stuff, makes me feel bad. I say, good, that's great, it's working. They look at me like, huh, but that's exactly what's going on. Their body is going through an adaptation phase and adjusting and getting rid of some garbage and doing whatever it to do. And sometimes I equate that to like physical therapy, which I'm going through right now for my total shoulder replacement, but it doesn't feel good. But if I'm going to have the best shoulder I can, I've got to do that work. And if you're going to have the best cellular health you can, you've got to get on this Redox supplement, let your body use it to get that stuff done, get the body repaired, get the garbage out, and get things working again.
Dick, is there ever a situation where someone should not take this?
No, not really. There's no contraindication. There's no toxicity. There's no interaction with medications. It's by far the safest technology that I ever recommend to somebody, and it's great that I don't have to worry about that. I've not seen any place where it can't hurt you. There's no way that extra redox signaling molecules can hurt you, and because your body has to have these to function. They're essential for life, just like oxygen and water and all the other things that are essential to keep our cells working.
Cool. Well,
there's an answer a question about somebody taking chemicals for a very serious disease, and it says, are they almost assured to have a detox effect? I'll tell you, in my husband's case, we didn't know this when we first got started, but I would take it and it tasted like YMCA pool water. He would take it, and I will tell you, the man was like lying on the floor, rolling around, like gagging and stuff. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Man up. And he was like, this just tastes horrible. And what we have found is that people, if your physiology, the worse your physiology is, the worse the stuff tastes to you. And people say, oh, I'm getting used to it. Well, you might be getting used to it, but it's also your physiology changing and your body becoming cleaner, and you stop really tasting the product after that. It's very, very interesting.
I had the same thing, Maureen. It was so bad, it was gagging me.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did that last, Nancy?
Well, it went, and it wasn't helping me with my discomfort. It was helping a lot of other things. This went on for 5 months. And then I happened to talk with Dr. Gary Samuelson, who was the lead scientist of, at Asea. And he said, I said, I hate to tell you this, but it's not working for my, discomfort. He said, and he laughed and he said, oh, yes, it works for everything. And he said, you just, kind of like you have a ways to go. And he said, if you want to get there faster, you should drink 8 ounces every morning and 8 ounces every night for a month. And I was like, oh my gosh. And literally I was like, I don't know if I can do it.
How much were you drinking then? How much were you drinking before?
Probably 6 ounces a day, 4 to 6. And, but I understand I had my issue for, a lot of years. And so I did what he recommended, and it only took me 2 weeks. And what happened, Dr. Osler is similar. I had a couple of days at the end of those 2 weeks where I didn't feel very good, and where I actually laid down for part of the day, which is very unusual for me. But then it seemed like it happened overnight. It didn't taste bad anymore. I was flexible for the first time in my life, and I did not have discomfort for the first time that I could remember. And that happened after I drank 16 ounces a day for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
And at that point, then I went about down to 8.
Yeah, and don't think that that's the magic answer dose for everybody. It's oftentimes different for everybody. I mean, maybe Nancy would have had to take 8 ounces a day, twice a day for 6 months or whatever for that to happen. It all depends on your physiology. And some people need to take even more than that, sometimes for even longer than that. Some people don't need to take as much. So you have to find the dose that works for you. But generally speaking, if you're not noticing anything, if you start at 4 ounces a day, 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening or afternoon, and you're not noticing anything after, a couple of weeks or a month, then double the dose and keep doing that until something happens, at least up to, 16 ounces. And some people go up even more than that. But what I found is that 16 ounces a day is going to get most people's results to start to kick in within a reasonable period of time. And then sometimes you can, like Nancy did, titrate back to 8 ounces a day. Personally, I've taken 8 ounces a day from the very beginning because, I've always sort of gone under the premise that if a little is good for you, then twice as much is probably better. So I started with 8 ounces from the beginning because I was 64 years old, and I thought, man, I don't have many of these molecules left in there, and I want to do stuff. So
give your body the best defense.
I used to tell people as a stockbroker, there's only 3 things the stock market can do. It can go up, go down, and stay the same. I'm sorry, we got a lot of feedback here. I'm not sure what's going on here, but same thing. Go ahead, Maureen. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, I'm just typing. I'm just conversing with people in the chat. I'm having a ball.
More Asea, Jim.
Huh?
Jim, drink more Asea.
Yeah, my computer needs it.
But, it is interesting though. Somebody was saying, I'm not drinking my carbonated water because my husband brought me this. It's just regular old water. I don't want to drink that. I don't have any cold Pellegrino.
Someone told you not to drink that other stuff. It wasn't good for you.
Yes, Dr. Hoffman, but I'm addicted. I love the stuff.
Well, guys, we've had a phenomenal time.
Awesome.
This has been fun.
Okay, right?
Yeah. Anyway, that was really interesting. What you were saying about getting started right off the bat with 8 ounces, because at my house we didn't think to do that. We just did the 2 ounces twice a day. And honestly, 6 weeks. It took 6 weeks to get our blessing. I was about to. In fact, I did ask if I could get my money back, but I was beyond the 30 days. So my sponsor Terry Latham was like, "Too bad. Keep drinking." And at the time, I didn't think it was humorous, but you know what, we did, and thank God, because that's how, that's when our blessing was. So anyway,
Awesome.
we're at the top of the hour, you guys.
Yeah.
We're actually
beyond.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we're beyond. We're chatting tonight.
Okay, so next week we have Dr. Richard Michael, MD from Duke. And then
Another member of the medical board. Yeah.
Yep. And then the week after we have Tyler Norton.
That'll be
So
awesome.
we're really, really excited to have Tyler on November the 6th.
2 weeks.
So in 2 weeks. So guys, thank you so much. Lee, is
Thanks
there anything you want to add?
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Always interesting and fun. Thanks, guys.
Go play in the snow.
This was
Yeah.
thanks
You
for
can go make
being
a
on, you
snowman.
guys.
Go have a snowball
Yeah,
fight.
stay
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Well, the snowman contest.
There you go. Thank you guys.
In front of the
We'll see y'all.
fire. Good night.
Yeah, right.
Thanks,
See y'all
everyone.
later.